What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I'm going to give you a simple strategy to beat good poker players. This works right away. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so I have a lot of videos on this channel talking about how to beat our fishy friends at the poker tables, those recreational players. However, a lot of people ask me, Nathan, how do you beat the good poker players? The people who are watching videos like this, maybe they read poker books, enroll in training courses, hire coaches, the serious poker players who are hard to read. These are the players we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to give you a step-by-step example of how to confuse them, how to outplay them, and win more versus them. So let's talk about it right now. So first things first, guys, you need to understand that the way to beat good poker players is frequencies. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm talking about always giving them different looks, essentially. This is something that I talk about in excruciating detail in my second book, Modern Small Stakes. It's literally a 500-page manual on how to constantly mix up your play and confuse the good players, and I'm going to walk you through an example right now. Guys, this is one of the biggest secrets to my success, especially in small stakes games, is constantly getting in their head and playing hands differently every single time, always giving them a different look. So you raise up ace queen offsuit, ace of spades, and queen of diamonds in middle position, and a tag tight and aggressive player calls you in the big blind. Now, I'm not going to explain the positions at the poker table or the player types in depth in this video. I have a free poker cheat sheet, which will be the top link in the description below, where I talk about all that in detail if you want to know more. Anyways, flop comes down with the king of spades, 7 of hearts, and 2 of clubs. Tag checks. What should we be doing in this spot? Well guys, this is just a standard c-betting spot. The best play here without a doubt is just to make a continuation bet, aka a c-bet. King 7 deuce is about the driest flop you can possibly get. There's literally no conceivable draws. There's no flush draws, there's no straight draws, so we just want to give them a reason to fold essentially in a spot like this. Remember, we're only up against one player here. We are in a position, and I'm going to lean heavily on c-betting in this situation. However, as we talked about, mixing up our play and having different frequencies is very, very important here. Guys, you need to be able to check back your ace high in this situation, just like you check back pocket aces here sometimes as well. And so the estimates that I'm going to give you in this video are just rough rules of thumb, but I would say around 30% of the time here with ace queen, we missed this flop, we have only ace high, I'm actually just going to be checking behind here. Again, building off of our central strategy versus good players to be always giving them different looks. If you always just c-bet in this situation with this board, you're going to be very, very easy to read. And that's why, like I said, it's very important to do this with pocket aces or pocket kings sometimes too, so that you're constantly playing those mind games. They don't know if you're checking behind this time with the ace queen or the ace jack, or if you really have top set with pocket kings or you got the pocket aces. So anyways, we're going to assume that we did c-bet here, as we're going to do roughly 70% of the time. Tag calls on the turn comes with the 10 of spades and the tag checks. So let's talk about this. All right, so let's discuss double barreling frequencies now. The 10 of spades, hopefully you guys already noticed, gives us the gut shot straight draw to the nuts. If the jack were to come on the river, that would give us an unbeatable straight, the Broadway straight. We also still potentially have outs with our ace or our queen, so we potentially have as much as 12 outs in this situation. The 10 of spades is also another Broadway card, which is heavily in our perceived range. Again, I don't want to go deep into various topics like that in this video. I've written 3 poker books talking about perceived range. I just released my brand new Elite Poker Training University. There are dozens and dozens of videos in the 17 hours of training talking specifically about your perceived range as the pre-flop raiser. There'll be links to enroll in the description below, but basically in a very brief nutshell, it is basically the range of hands that you are representing when you raise pre-flop, and typically Broadway cards, which are 10 and above, comprise a very large portion of that range. So all of this is to say, guys, that this is an excellent spot to double barrel. And double barreling, by the way, just means you raise pre-flop, you bet the flop, and now you're going to bet again on the turn. A very, very powerful play in poker that puts tremendous pressure on the other player to really show up with a hand, basically. But once again, guys, frequencies. So I'm going to be checking back here at least 30% of the time. This is a very good turn card for us here. I would say that on worse turn cards, like for instance the two of hearts or something like that, my check back frequencies are going to be much higher. But on a good double barreling card like this, I'm still going to be checking back here, guys, 30% of the time. Again, we don't want to ever be making the same play every single time versus good thinking opponents like this tight and aggressive player. Let's go see the river. So we're going to assume that the tag player called us again here on the turn, and the river comes with the three of spades. Interesting cards. Now, hopefully you guys have noticed that there's three spades on the board there, so the backdoor flush draw did come through, but it's important to note that we actually blocked the flush with the ace of spades. That's really important. It just makes it less likely that they have that hand. People tend to chase nut flushes a lot, and so when we have that card already in our hand, it doesn't mean this player can't have a flush, but it just means it's less likely, and that makes it a better spot ultimately for us to bluff. So the other thing that we need to note always on the river, especially, as I've talked about in many videos on this channel, by the way, make sure you subscribe so you never miss my new videos, is that when we essentially have no chance of winning, you know, we're going to assume that ace queen is probably not the best hand here the majority of the time against a decent tight and aggressive player. When you're in that situation, I tend to lean a little bit more towards bluffing, because we're going to assume that the tag does check to us, by the way, here on the river. When we check behind, we're essentially just giving up. We know that we're probably going to lose most of the time, and it's really painful if he called us with a hand like pocket eights or something like that, when we know if we empty the clip here on the river, we could probably get that hand to fold. So this is all to say that this is an excellent spot to triple barrel, to empty the clip, as they say, on the river, make the most powerful play possible in poker, and put tremendous, overwhelming pressure on this player to make a monster call. However, as you guys already know, it's all about frequencies. So I'm still going to be checking back here, guys, at least 30% of the time, and essentially waving the white flag, giving up here, because we can't be just triple barreling every single time, guys, with our ace queen here, or good players like this are going to look us up. And I really need to note there as well that my check back frequencies, guys, are going to be much higher on worse board runouts. Again, this is a pretty good board runout for us here with the 10 of spades and then the 3 of spades, and the fact that we also blocked the flush. This seems like a pretty decent spot to run a big bluff, but on worse board runouts, like if it came with like a 6 of hearts and like a 9 of hearts or something like that, we're probably not going to be betting the turn and the river anywhere near as often. But guys, really the frequencies that I discussed in this video are not the main point. And also what I call the dynamic that you have with this particular player is incredibly important. If I bluff this guy out of the pot like 5 times in a row, I'm going to be much less likely to be bluffing in this situation because I know they're going to look me up lights. So there's a lot more variables that go into this, and the numbers, you know, are debatable here. Again, they can change heavily depending on the situation. What I want you to take away from this video is to understand that consistently mixing up your play in situations like this is the key to success versus good players. You don't have to do this versus our fishy friends. As I've discussed in many of these videos, you really should be playing an incredibly exploitative brand of poker against the recreational players, but you need to mix some of these quote-unquote GTO strategies into your game versus good players, especially as you move up the stakes, and I think you're going to have a lot more success. Alright guys, like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and make sure you also grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. All the best at the poker tables. I will catch you next time.